So we are going to hope and pray that you can actually hear me right now, for the pure fact of everything else says it's working except my speakers. So we are going to be discussing the Student Exploration Flood and Stormproof Homes Gizmo. So in order to do this, we need to make sure that we are logged in to our Gizmo account. Remember, you need to select student, and then it should be your first initial, last name, and then possibly your birth date numbers. But when you go into Gizmo, I am aware that within my Gizmo, I'm just going to pretend to be in period 1 right now, that there are like a million different gizmos available to you. You are going to be selecting the flood and stormproof homes, and you're going to launch the gizmo. So I'm going to put this into full screen just so you can see better, but remember, before you even really get started on all of this, there are some prior knowledge questions that you need to answer. So, prior knowledge questions. 1 second, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. So, it states, a hurricane is a storm with very strong winds. The image shows a house that was damaged by Hurricane Michael in 2018. In what ways was the house damaged? So it's referring to this picture here. So how is the house damaged? Well, we're missing some shingles off of the top, and I know this is really kind of difficult to see in this light. And that you can see that there's a slight hole in the side. We're missing some siding over here, and dang, just all the debris on the ground. So how do you think the house could be built to better survive a hurricane? So think of what sorts of ways could we have possibly prevented all of this damage through just different building techniques. Maybe there's different materials or whatnot, things like that. So keep that in mind as you kind of progress through here. So take a minute to get that done, and then let's go through the Gizmo warm-up together. So a hurricane is a type of natural disaster. A natural disaster is a sudden event that can destroy homes and hurt people. In this lesson, you will try to build houses that can do well in floods and hurricanes. So on the Gizmo, select flood. What is a floodplain? So if we go over here, it's asking you to select flood. So St. Louis, Missouri is a city near the Mississippi River floodplain. A floodplain is a low-lying ground next to the river. So what is a floodplain? It is the low-lying ground next to the river. Okay? After you get that done, then select next and watch. So what happens? Okay? What causes floods to occur? Floods occur when large amounts of rain cause rivers to rise above the banks and spread across the floodplain. Fantastic. What happens during the flood? Well, let's see. So if we go back, what's happening during this flood? Well, the water is like protruding into St. Louis County. You can see that the river gets much, much wider. Things like that. Think of what happens to the homes around the Red River during the spring and things like that. Okay? So, your goal is to build a house that won't get damaged by flood. Your first step is to pick a location. So, we have now essentially started entering into activity A, which is at the bottom. Check that your on your location screen, how much does each location cost, things like that. So you will select either location 1 or location 2. Read the difference in both of these. You are going to be eventually selecting both, so floodplain and levee protected. And you are going to essentially build a home. So if we were to select floodplain for only 140,000, Okay, this is a house that's going to be built on the floodplain next to the river. Okay, you get to choose different things, like whether you put it on a slab, a basement, stilts, or springs. And you need to keep track essentially of how much you spend. So like if we're just going to go with the cheapest of the cheap, okay, so we're going to put a slab, a solid platform of concrete, going to drag it here. Okay, then what kind of frame are you going to use? Wood, concrete, steel. Again, I'm going cheapest of the cheap. So wood, if you click on it, frames are popular choices for a house. Fantastic. Okay, then siding, you get all of these options. Vinyl is the cheapest. This is essentially what we put on our houses up here. So like if I go back here and click on this, it's inexpensive, lightweight, and flexible. Okay, and then gable or hip. Okay, asphalt, metal, or, but you're basically going to keep doing this. And then any extras. Are you going to spend any extra stuff as far as to be able to maybe get sandbags to go around the house? Okay, maybe you don't have that. Maybe you do storm shutters or a reinforced door, so on and so forth. Whatever you want. Now, once you put this together, so we're looking, you have spent a total, so the floodplain location was $140,000. You spent an additional $80,000 building the house. Now, if you want to show some of the details of how much you spent, awesome. Okay? And then you're going to test your home. And you're going to watch. And you're going to see. You can see the inside of the house. You can see the damage report afterwards. So here comes the floodwaters. Okay? Look at the interior of our house. Okay? Now, if we go to this, cost of repairs, $47,000. The cost of your house was only $80,000. Your score was a 41%. The foundation was damaged. The house was filled with water. The roof is intact. The interior was damaged. Here's the amount of damage and how it's all kind of broken down to that $47,000. Okay? So it's going to ask you, like, what was the best, what was the worst, and so on and so forth. You can reset it and then do it again if you're like, I didn't believe that. Okay? But eventually you can go back to build and you can reset your entire house. Okay? Have fun with it. It does ask you to mark down 2 different, like, test homes. Do something different. I mean, like, obviously, you know, if you were to put it on stilts, you're not going to have nearly as much damage. Okay? But experiment with why this is. Okay? Why do they offer springs? Well, that's kind of weird. Okay? So on and so forth. If you want to go back to your location, excuse me, and select the levy, you still have a saved house over here. So saved A, this is what you've already done. Okay? But this is with the levy protection. But yeah, have fun. Kind of see why we build the way that we do in specific locations. I would never purchase a home on stilts here in North Dakota. Okay? There's no need for that additional cost of $30,000. Okay? So, things like that. Why do we have basements, but the further south you get, the fewer basements you actually see? Such as that. Okay? Awesome. If you have any questions, ask your teachers. Hopefully you can actually hear my voice. I'm going to say yes, you probably can, but just in case. Awesome. Make sure that you turn this in online, and let me know if you need anything. Thank you.